Hello, welcome. It's Christmas. No, I've not been on the sherry just yet, although this afternoon very much could have pushed every one of us towards it, I feel. Yes, Dave, you were waiting for me. We've been over on the Women's Channel, having a right old time of it on Christmas Cracker Tea, but we are back here. And we need to talk about West Ham. That's going to be obviously one of the first things that we talk about. So we spend a little bit of time just reviewing our thoughts on the game. And then we've got a couple of bits of fun and games to sort of run through as well. So we're going to kick off with Dan. As you can see, we've got the boss over here as well. Connor's here and Andrew below us, our season ticket holder as well. So let's get on with it. Dan, I understand you're still dying. So if you could do that quietly, but also drag yourself through the show, that would be wonderful. So yeah, West Ham. We interesting lineup. Kobe Minu did start in the end, which we were hoping for. As did Willie Camboala as well, which was perhaps more the unexpected one that started. But by all accounts, a really good game to begin with. And then, of course, a couple of goals just sort of pushed us under. And we end up losing the game 2-0. And you talk about Mystic Dan. It's kind of what I said, a performance against Liverpool. And then we're just going to throw it away against West Ham. And that certainly seems to be what's happened.
Yeah, it was all. When can I swear? Is it? Have I got to wait 20 more seconds or what?
I mean, so ideally, if you could wait 10 minutes, most of us would like to wait the whole game. But, you know.
No, it was awful. It was just awful. I can see where the positives were in the control of the game. They played a little bit better in terms of keeping the ball. But it was toothless. It was naive. I have no idea why we swapped from the double pivot. I'm absolutely baffled at his decision to continually push Fernandez away from the creating role and pushing him deeper for McTominay. Like, I get McTominay got his goals, and I was one of the people that's saying, like, he came into the team, he scored 2, you've got to keep him in the team. But he's played the full 90 minutes for 9 games, and he's scored against Chelsea, and that's it. And he brings very little else to the game other than when he scores. And if he's not scoring, I don't understand why he's playing. I thought the positives from the game were the fact that the youth players were probably our best players in Camboala and Minu. I thought they was really, really good. They seemed to deal with the pressure quite well. I know Minu made the mistake in the end, but again, just baffled at why we're leaving an 18-year-old to run the midfield. It seems like Ten Hag for me is making some really, really strange decisions. Overall, we didn't create really anything today. Even though I've seen a lot of people saying that they're pushing the Højlund thing with chances not created for him, which I completely understand from previous weeks. But this week it baffled me a little bit because there was quite a few times he was in and they constantly did try and find him, but the defending was decent. And then the one time that Anthony actually got the ball perfectly across the box, which any striker worth the weight in gold should be tapping in. Højlund and Garnacho were both on the toes. They weren't ready for it at all. They was on the heels. So yeah, I've got lots of questions for Ten Hag after today's performance, to be honest with you.
You should mention that. We will get on to the Ten Hag conversation because obviously with Steve Cooper being sacked, Ten Hag has actually moved to the top of the favourites list for people to be out of a job, which I found interesting because I'm not hearing a massive clamour from the fans just yet. But Andrew, looking at this West Ham game, so how has it made you feel? Obviously, it's a rubbish result, not the sort of thing we were looking for. But again, you say the positives where we've given the youth a chance and they haven't really let us down. What's your thoughts?
It's probably the only positive from today's game. The United team this season, it was like the gift that keeps on giving. Just like it seems to be never ending. But that first half kind of wasn't the most exciting. You could have easily fallen asleep if not. But it took us a while to settle into the game. I don't think we even registered a shot on target until the half-hour mark. But when we did, I felt we were really threatening on the attack as well. And Garnacho should have scored from his effort. We could have been 1-0 up before half-time. But I always felt like it was going to be a tight and cagey game, and I just felt like whoever scores first would likely to win the game, and I'm just, unfortunately, it wasn't us, and I'm just thinking the front three at the moment, are causing no problems to the opposition defence, and the West Ham defence, were comfortable in dealing with us, and this is the fourth game without a goal for United, and it's just shown how poor we've been, and this is a huge concern. It's not, Ten Hag's not figuring it out quickly enough, and in the end, it could prove very costly for him as well. So, said positive to go from the game. I know he made a mistake, Kobe Mainoo, but it looks like he was the one that probably could hold his head high as well. So, calm and composed on the ball, and looks, like our most important player at the moment, and probably must start for Ten Hag. So, it's almost like in January, you need to, has a midfield partner that will complement his style. But I just, that second half as well, I just felt like, West Ham did that that one little change where literally got more further forward and started causing us problems. And I just thinking, the mistake from Manu, he tried to make up for it, and that was his inexperience being shown where we conceded the second goal. But yeah, just as I said, I think the stat shows, 13 losses before Christmas is like our worst record in 93 years. So we haven't scored in 6 hours. It's just, say Boxing Day is going to be interesting at home to Villa. United better turn up and deliver something for us fans, because I don't want it to happen, but is change going to be coming? I still trust Ten Hag, but let's say, those players are not delivering for him at the moment.
It's a very interesting one. John's obviously not too impressed. He's not happy with McTominay and Bruno playing together. The Bounce Off the Ropes podcast, not too happy either with the front line. Connor, what did you make of today's game? We mentioned Scott McTominay. He's our top goal scorer at the moment, but yet people are still not happy when he plays. You look at the fact that none of us, we haven't scored in 4 games, which is just unheard of, really, for Manchester United to go on a goal scoring drought just like this. What's your thoughts? And as Dave says here, we seem to play better without Bruno. Do you think maybe not playing Bruno might have been a better option today? What was your take from today's game?
There's so many things. I think the McTominay thing, I actually think McTominay is a decent enough player, but you don't play him in that 2 in midfield unless you've got, I think him and Fred kind of work together, obviously under the first part of Ollie, but you've had a stable backline behind him this season. We've not had a stable backline. It's changing all the time. You've got a keeper that's maybe not hit the ground running as well, and you've got wingers that are constantly changing every single week. So it's not had a settled team, whereas under that Ollie team, it was very settled with McTominay there. So I don't think you're playing him his best season. I wouldn't have brought Fernandes straight back in. I think he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's earned it this season so far. I think you probably play McTominay and bring Fernandes on. I don't see why it's... I've not been on here for a while, but I listened to obviously you guys, and what Dan says a lot on here, for me, it seems like it's one rule for one player and one rule for somebody else. It's like some players get dropped when they don't play well, which is fine. That's how it should be. But then others don't, and others continue to play week in, week out. I think the danger we're in as United fans, I know Mainoo obviously with the second goal, but this is going to really annoy people, I'm sure, but we're doing it again as United fans. We're saying, Mainoo is the best player at the moment and everything else. We did this with Rashford, we did it with Martial, we did it with Garnacho. His form dips a little bit. Everyone's on Garnacho's back. We'll do it with Mainoo. Mainoo will start having a dip. Everyone will be on his back. Every time we get a good young player, and I think it just shows how bad we are. We get a good young player comes in, shows a bit of fight, pretty decent on the ball, and all of a sudden, right, future's in good hands though. We said that 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. We're in the future now, and it's not all right if we're still in the same position we were in. So there's so many issues, and the players that seem to get slated the most have actually been all right. I think it's just a mess. I think you look at both goals, it's a bit of a mess. Everyone says, well, we played all right today in the first half. If we'd have took our chances, well, that's an if. We didn't. You've got to, the game isn't 40 minutes. The game isn't half an hour. You've got to play for 90, and we just don't seem to do that. We look good in sections, in 10, 15-minute spells. But I think we did that last season. I think I came on here in February or March, and we're riding our luck a lot, where we're kind of playing one in 15, 20 minutes, but actually scoring and then holding on for the rest of the game. And this season, we're not scoring. So there's nothing to hold on to because we're not actually getting ahead. So like today, we go in 0-0. There's always a chance. The Premier League, you don't get that. You see, look at today, for example, nearly every team near the bottom won today. So it's like anyone can beat anyone on their day. And we're just falling into that trap of not scoring. So we've got nothing to hold on to.
It's an interesting one. You're not wrong. And John's sitting here saying Mainoo made a mistake for the second goal, but he's 18 years old trying to dictate the midfield. You lose balance from McTominay and Bruno starting. You're asking an 18-year-old to dictate, and it's not right. I mean, I would argue, though, you take someone like a Wayne Rooney. He was 18, you were asking him to bully defenders. And I don't think your age has really got anything to do with it. You know, you're either good enough to do it or you're not. And whilst I agree that he will need time, obviously, to get some strength and to get into a position where he really can take hold of it. You know, I also think that the age doesn't really have to be the big determiner in that. Dan, last thing I'm going to ask you about the West Ham game on this one is you look at Marcus Rashford. He was brought on eventually. And when he was brought on for Højlund. Something that I found quite interesting, really, because Garnacho and Anthony weren't really necessarily bringing anything to the dance at that point either. Do you think that was the right substitution to make? Because, you know, the lack of goals has coincided with Rashford not being around. Do you think that Rasmus was the right person to take off for Rashford on this occasion?
I actually thought Højlund was pretty poor today. This is what I mean by me personally. I've seen some of the bigger accounts go at like I say the stat with Anthony and Garnacho. Højlund today was 100% not making the runs that he was. I mean, to be fair, he must be fed up because he's made them for 4 or 5 weeks and no one's found him, and he just wasn't making them today. I bet he's ticked off. I bet in the changing room he's thinking, like, 14 games now I've not scored. It's starting to get on my nerves. The players aren't finding me. They're not able to cross the ball in when I need them to cross the ball in. They don't ever win second balls when they're knocked up front. He's basically chasing shadows with defenders and then no one's backing him up. Today, I didn't understand the style of play. It was really confusing. We seemed to keep the ball, but then there was just huge gaps opening up for no reason. Like players were moving away from where they should be. And then when we went 1-0 down and even 2-0 down, we seemed to move to like a 4-1-4, 4-2-4. It was a really weird formation. And he basically emptied out the midfield. And I was so baffled at it, watching it. I don't understand what the process is. And this is my issue, is we've had 6 days on the training pitch where Ten Hag can get into these players and get the players to find patterns, to have they got a partnership? Can we get the best out of such and such? And that performance was no different to when he's got 2 days rest. It was exactly the same. You could argue that we're a little bit more composed on the ball. I mean, but I don't know about anybody else, but that's not the Manchester United way. I don't care about keeping the ball for 75% of the match and being bored out my life for 45 minutes. I want to see players break quickly and try and score goals.
It's interesting, Andrew. The thing that, again, going to the substitutes that I found interesting was obviously he brought Rashford on just before the hour. We conceded in the 72nd minute. It's only at that point that he brings Anthony off for Pellistri. And, you know, there was a couple more substitutions. He brought Reguilon on for Kambala and Eriksson for Garnacho as well. But again, incredibly interesting that he'd only done that when we were 2-0 down and waited a little bit longer as well. Just generally looking at the substitutions that Ten Hag made today, do you think they were sensible substitutions and the right ones? Or do you think he should have gone earlier?
Probably there's one I thought he should have gone earlier, and that was Christian Eriksen. I just thought he needed someone to just unlock that West Ham defence to play that killer ball. And I just felt like if we were the ones to score first, we could have maybe, held on to the 1-0 like we did against Fulham and Burnley. But I just felt like Eriksen was the key one for me. I felt like Højlund had a poor game. Yes, he wasn't making the runs, but you could see, I think they panned to him, the camera did, and I could see he's frustrated. It's just been boiling at him. It's like, I'm standing here waiting for something to happen, service from my teammates, and I'm not getting it. I just felt like Rashford was coming on. I would have taken Garnacho off. I just felt like I know he had a couple of chances to score, but he was not having a good game. I just felt like Rashford off the left would have been a better, choice. But let's say Pelistri came on, he couldn't have much influence in the time that he got on the pitch, and it's one thing I can criticise Ten Hag is the substitutions, but it's just not just to be, because like at the moment there's a bit no plans on the pitch, and the players are looking a bit lost. And whether that's Ten Hag's fault or not, Ten Hag could be telling them to do it, and if they're just not, listening and just doing their own thing, it's just like, it's just, you can't continue much longer. If he carries on and on, then Ten Hag remaining long term, it's going to be tough for him. But I'm not Ten Hag out. I'm just like, I'm still backing him. I haven't got to that point where it was under Ali, and when the last game his last game away at Watford, and I just thought the players have just done you here. You've thrown you under the bus, and for your own sanity, it's best to leave. I think he did say that in an interview. Ollie did say at half time, he said, I think this could be the last time I'm working with you guys. And I'm like, well, why didn't you go out and fight? I'm hoping, I just feel like with Ten Hag, I just feel like, yes, we can say we've had injuries, and we've had a lot. That's part of some of the issues, but it's the players' attitude as well. I'm just like, are you not going to fight for this football club? I reading something the other day in The Athletic. I think when Ten Hag started Ajax, his methods and what he wanted to try, there was resistance to all that. But it finally clicked with those players he had, and then they started to fly. But at the moment, you just don't see with United. But just things have got to get better soon enough. As the only way is up. So, but yeah, I'm still back in Ten Hag. I'm not wanting to turn on him yet.
No, absolutely. Okay. Connor, I really, the question I've got for you is a very simple one. I know that you've watched a lot of the women's team as well. It's a tricky thing to support Man United at the moment, because, we rave a lot more about the women than we do about the men. But do you see West Ham now? They've gone above us with that win in the league. Do you see the top four as being in Manchester United's future as we move into 2024, or do you think that we could be sitting outside of the top four again this season?
We're not finishing top four. If you want the simple answer, I just don't think we will. Somewhat a Liverpool mate of mine was kind of like joking me earlier. I enjoy the Conference League. I was like, Conference League? You're optimistic. I don't even think we're going to finish in that the way we're playing. Because I don't see it. I don't see. It's like you said earlier on. We'll draw to Liverpool, lose to West Ham, probably beat Villa, lose to Luton or something like that. Like, it's just what we're doing this season, and there's no consistent. And you cannot stay in that top half of the table by doing things like that. Look at Chelsea. Chelsea have actually had some good results this season, but they're 10th because they're losing games to teams below them and in and around. Everyone knows the stat about Ten Hag versus the top 9. He's still not won an away game against the top 9. Like, that's unbelievable how long he's been in the job, and still we're in that position. So we don't fix that. I don't even think we get into any Europe, let alone the top 4. So I don't know. I think we need to be realistic and start looking at the squad that we've got and the position. Whether that, obviously you mentioned the women's team there, potentially the takeovers affecting things behind the scenes more than we know, because I tweeted it earlier. It's mental to me that you go the start of this, how this year started for both senior teams, amazing, and both senior teams at the end of this year, it's been awful. And it's just, so maybe there is some things going on, not that it's an excuse and everything else, but maybe there is some things going on that's disrupting a lot more than we think, because every team right now at United is dropping down compared to where it was 12 months ago, which is not good.
It's interesting you mentioned dropping down, because Dave's sitting here saying that what would do us the world of good is to get relegated, as we did in the 73-74 season. So if you thought you were being a Debbie Downer, NT, Dave's nicked that one right off you. Listen, we're going to do a little switch over in a minute. Something very unusual. that we don't often do. But as it's Christmas, we like to get as many people on as is humanly possible. So very shortly, we're going to lose Andrew, we're going to lose Connor. But before they go, they need to have a go at fanograms. It's indeed. There's no emojis for this one. There's only
some of those anagrams. They're horrendous.
Just
Connor's actually killing me there live on TV. There's only 5, so let's see how you get on. So,
Current player,
which player can be called Nana Ronaldo?
Andre Onana.
Yes, Andrew Wall. AW with the first point. Andre Onana.
Didn't even let me read it. He was straight in there.
I saw Onana. Straight.
Absolutely. Okay, so which player could get a NATO summon?
I think we'll play it with T in their name.
Yeah, we've got nobody called NATO summon in the team, to be fair. We've got to rearrange the letters. And it's summon on the ball. Summon. NATO scores. What a commentary that would be. Clive Fields here go mad. I thought this one would catch you out. I was going to leave it till last.
I can't think of anyone with double M in the name either. I know you got to mix the letters up, but I can't think of anyone that's got
double M in their name.
Got it.
Dave's got it.
Mason Mount.
Oh, of course it
Mason
is.
Mount. Absolutely. So well done, Dave, for putting that one out of the fire. How about this one then? Banner's founder. Who found
Bruno
this one?
Fernandes.
Oh, yeah. Bruno Fernandes, Andrew Wall. Not mucking about.
Andrew's been sent a little crib sheet before we went live, didn't he? He's been.
I wish I had sent him that because, there's no fun when you just come straight out of it. But there we go. This one. Who is a car horde Smurfs?
Who else has got an F in their name?
He's got a H.
It's interesting seeing the way Connor approaches this. Who's got an F in there now?
Yeah, it's just like weird letters, not like an A or not your vowels. I'm trying to think of like letters that are not very common.
Marcus Rashford.
Shouldn't really be talking about.
No,
Yes, well done, Andrew. I knew that you'd get the one with the car in. Smash it. Last one. Here we go. I'm quite proud of this one. Who has got a Costco Minty match?
Scott McTominay. Yeah.
Yes, he does. Andrew Wall, 4 out of 5. He's giving nobody a chance.
The chance.
Dave stealing the last one. Well played, Dave. Very good. John Commode got in there with Marcus as well. So did NT and Dave. But yeah, good job, everyone. Listen, it's been a delight having you on. Thank you very much, Connor, for gracing us with your presence again over here on the dark side. But lovely to have you on here. Connor, in 50 words or less, why should people come over and watch the women's team, the women's channel? Watch women's team as well if you want, by all means.
I know you want under 50 words, but it was so easy last season because I was like, they're winning. They're not at the minute, so it's probably not the best time to come over. But no, you get to see Barry. There you go. That's a thing. You get to see Barry taking the mick at Amy more often, and Charlie usually joins in as well. So if that's not a reason, I don't know what is. So yeah. Go with that because the team's not exactly performing, so there's not loads to cheer about there either.
Well, come and watch us because we take the mick out, Connor, which is superb. Absolutely do that. Andrew, thank you again for everything you've done for us this year, joining in and coming along. Thank you very much. We're going to kick you two out now, so thank you very much. Merry Christmas. Wave as everybody sees you disappear, just like that and just like that. And then there was 2 of us, 2 left. I'm going to get rid of Costco Minty Map because, to be honest with you, that probably shouldn't be there anymore. There we go. We are going to bring in some new people. On Women's Channel, we have nice little segues here, so you don't actually see this technical part. So instead, we're just going to do a little drum roll because who's it going to be? You don't know. It's like a Christmas cracker, and what pops out? Well, there comes a John Neville. That's your first one that pops out of the Christmas cracker. And you think, oh, who else could we get? And you get your little drum roll in again. And, oh, look, there's Dan Bateman, which is very nice. Both of these have also been on the women's channel as well. And then we go, who else could we have? Where's the fun going to be? Look at that. It's Tony. He's actually turned up for it, which is cool fun. So, surely that's going to be about it. But, oh, no, we're treating you today. Big Stu Willie.
Hey.
Listen, we're going to talk about West Ham. Obviously, Dan's not going to mention much about this because he's already said what he thinks, but it is important we get everybody's opinions on how it's gone. So we'll start with John. West Ham, just how much has that wound you up that night?
Well, to be honest, it wasn't all that unexpected, to be honest, Barry, with the way we've been playing just lately. There just doesn't seem to be any cutting edge goal threat going forward whatsoever at the moment. I to be honest, I couldn't actually watch the game today. I've sort of seen the brief highlights of it, but we just look so lackluster going forwards. I mean, I know Garnacho had sort of one very good and one decent chance, which he should have done a lot better with. But the fact that we've not scored for 4 games, we've lost half of the total games that we've played all season. It's it's very very concerning times at the moment, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Like I muted myself rather than unmuting myself, which was a bit of a stupid thing to do. But there you go. Listen, I've been on this now for 2.5 hours doing this, so that was my mistake for it. Struggle to disagree with that, Dan. As far as the West Ham game goes for you, 4 games without scoring a goal. I wish John Commode was able to tell us when the last time that happened was, because I feel like it would have been a very, very, very long time.
1992.
There you go. Thank you, John Commode. Just heard him there from the ceilings. But 92. That's mad. All the way back then. How did the West Ham game sort of, I want to say make you feel, because that's the wrong words really, but just how annoyed are you, I suppose, really?
I agree with John. I really thought it wasn't unexpected, given our track record away to the teams in the top half of the table as well. It was pretty much nailed on for me. I said all week that we'll get a result at Anfield. We'll probably get beat at West Ham. We'll probably beat Villa because Villa have been on a decent run, and then we'll lose to someone absolutely rubbish again the week after. It's just so up and down. The lack of goals is a real worry, though. Like, if we were getting beat 4-3 every week, you'd be like, well, one week we might be able to defend well and stop the goals going in at one end and we'll win, but we don't even look like scoring. Like, players are getting in on one-on-one, chances, and like Højlund at Anfield as well, and we don't even look like putting them away. Like, we're hitting them right at the keeper. They're not making worldy saves, and it's just really frustrating more than anything.
Yeah, again, can't disagree with that one. Tony, it's been a while since we've seen you on. As far as you're concerned with the whole West Ham game, and indeed the last few weeks, really, what is it that's going wrong?
Everything. Nothing's going right. When it rains, it pours. Like, I've been in bed all day with the worst hangover, and I woke up to watch the Man United game earlier, and I wish I didn't. I wish I just stayed in bed and not put myself through it. But like everyone says, it weren't expected. I genuinely thought, we weren't gonna get results today, and that's not the way I like to think. I always like to think as positively as I possibly can. But what's there positively to think about at the moment? Like, the team's not playing well. It seems like they've lost a lot of their confidence. And the thing is, even in the Champions League, even though we finished bottom, there was a lot of positives to take from it. Whereas now it's there, like, there's nothing really to take from games. Like, it just feels like the players are just not good enough anymore, and it just feels like there's a really flat atmosphere all around. And I don't know what's going to change that, but Here's to hoping for a Christmas miracle, because that's what's going to take to get anything this season. No, sorry.
It certainly seems to feel that way. Stu, we were in the preview. We had the conversation about what we thought might happen at West Ham. You were worried about bringing Bruno back into the side. We did. And the result just hasn't quite worked out for us. But some great stuff from the youngsters, Kobe Mainu and Willie as well at the back there. What was your thoughts on the game?
It was interesting to a point, in as much as that Mr. Moyes himself decided to shackle Kudus for probably about 20 minutes. And then he flicked that switch, brought Kudus into the middle, and that was it, game over. It was at that point of the match that we were kicked out of the game, almost swatted aside, because he became such a threat, irrespective, by the way, of the young lads. And I thought he added a lot of poise and presence, and I thought it was Johnny Evans that looked like a debutant rather than the young kid alongside him. The problem that you've got with players like that, with players like Mino, with Garnacho, and the lads are right, he should have scored Garnacho. I mean, fuck me, I'd have absolutely destroyed him at half-time in the dressing room. I'd ripped his fucking head off. You can't have that at elite level football. It's got to go in. Irrespective of him appearing to kind of get wrong-footed, he should be smart enough, bright enough now to understand his position, his trajectory towards goal, and where he needed to put in. It was far post, he would have scored. It was a very, very easy finish. But the issue you're going to have with these types of players is they're going to get that injection of toxicity within them, and they become introverted footballers when we need extroverted footballers. We need these young players to not only understand what it means to play for Manchester United, but what it means to play professional football as a whole, and how you carry yourself, how you count themselves. But the press don't do them any favours, making stupid comments about, Mono's got his head on the ground because he doesn't use the first team car park. I mean, it's just bullshit. But unfortunately, players like that do tend to read stuff like that, and he'll be thinking to himself, should I be using the first team car park and things of that nature? But these guys, the players like Bruno Fernandes at this point in time, players like Scott McTominay at this point in time, players like Rashford at this point in time are doing the club a disservice. They're doing the fans an injustice, and they need eradicating from the first team picture right now. He won't do it. Can we afford to do it? Probably not. But really, what's the consequences going to be for the future? And the consequences are that we're just going to slip further and further and further down the table. Because whatever people think about Ten Hag, and for me, we need to give him this period of time, this 3 to 5 year period of time. It's the players that are having all the say, and he's got to deal with it. Sancho should have been out the door in October. He shouldn't still be here picking up a salary. You've got to pay him anyway, irrespective. So, bite the bullet and get rid. And Donny van der Beek, luckily he's going, but he's going on loan. We should have sold him £2 million. Fuck off. There's no point paying his salary, which is what we're doing. We're just throwing money after money after money. We're going to get a couple of loan deals probably come in. Who we get, we don't know. Whether we get a striker, we don't know. Højlund desperately needs some help up there. Although he's not really helping himself at the moment because he's not using his brain. Where he's not in positions where he should be. He's playing more centrally, probably about 25, 30 yards out the penalty area at times where he needs to be in the penalty area. That's where he should be. So I know we're not getting crosses into him, but you've got to be there to receive a cross that does come in. So there's a multitude of issues that we've got. They all need basically putting on a firing squad and shooting the fucking lot of them, because they are pointless right now, literally pointless as professional athletes, and that's fucking embarrassing. I mean, if you're Fernandes or Evans, you should be ashamed of yourself. Literally ashamed. Rashford should be ashamed of yourself, and it doesn't appear to be happening for me. So Ten Hag's got a big job. and he's going to get tougher and tougher and tougher on these parasites. And I did say I wouldn't have brought Bruno back in, and I wouldn't have, and I stand by that. I'd have played Amrabat and Mino. I stand by that. The surprise was the young kid at the back, and I thought he did exceptionally well. I did, but I don't think Shaw gave us anything. Reguilon would have given us a little bit more. I could go on forever, Baz.
You could, but we all want to be done by 10, so we'll probably stop you there on that one.
Yeah.
But you're quite right. I think for Willie Campbell to come in and do as he did was superb, and add shades, I thought, of the Tuanzebe sort of debut in the Champions League, where we all weren't quite sure how he was going to get on, and he just bossed it. So fair play from there. Dan, we sort of mentioned in the first half about ETH, and John has said that Ten Hag does need time, but he's not helping himself at the moment. What's your thoughts on the Ten Hag situation? And I don't necessarily mean in or out, but what I mean by that is, as we said, he's been made the favourite now that Steve Cooper's out of a job, to be the next manager to lose his job. Again, I'm not hearing too much of that around United of people calling for his head. But if we lose the next 2 or 3 games, do you think that clamour might start to appear in the same way that it did against Ollie, against Jose, against all of the people that have gone before him?
If he does what he did today, then I would be quite happy if he gets sacked. It wouldn't bother me at all. He can't keep doing the same things every week and expecting to get different results. It doesn't work. It's not worked this season, but he's kept plugging away with this single pivot, moving away from the double pivot when it works, continuing playing players that just... I asked the question earlier on X or Twitter, whatever you call it these days. I don't know how a world-class manager watches that game today and says, I'm going to leave Garnacho on until we're 2-0 down. And I don't understand how he watches the game and says, I'm going to leave McTominay on for the whole 90 minutes. Garnacho was awful. He just not, and it's not a dig at him. He hasn't got a future at the club, etc. He was on the day today. He was so bad. He should have been replaced at halftime. He was wasting chances. He couldn't get the ball across. He was being bullied. It was a clear substitution to make, and I don't understand why he couldn't see it and why he kept McTominay on. Like I say, when we went 2-0 down, he changed to this 4-2-4 and completely emptied the midfield, which is not what we needed. We needed a bit of something extra in midfield. We needed an Eriksen to calm us down maybe at 1-0. And he seems to be getting it wrong, and then he'll come out afterwards and say, yeah, we played well. I didn't see us play well today. We kept the ball well. I'm not a overly obsessed person with keeping the football. I don't see... Who gives a crap if you had 70% possession and you play like that? I've got no interest in watching that football at all. I would much prefer us to just... The squad is what it is. Ole got the best out of it because he went, you know what? We're not particularly strong at keeping the ball right now. We'll work on the ability of 1 or 2 players to bring something to the table, whether that's Fernandes hitting a 40-yard pass and it, Rashford getting on the end, or Rashford doing a bit of magic, or whatever he was accused of. At least it was football that matched up to the player profiles. Now, my issue with Ten Hag and going forward is he needs to be absolutely ruthless. Yeah. And I mean ruthless. So he knows there's no future for Johnny Evans at Manchester United. This is Leicester City, a Leicester City player that they didn't renew his contract for, and they're in the Championship, and he's starting games for Manchester United. It's ridiculous. I know Stu likes Reguilon, and to be honest, when he came on, he at least showed a little bit of something. He tried to get forward. He tried to put his foot in. But we're talking about a Spurs player that they sent out on loan because they don't want him anymore. And we're picking up these players for what reason? For me, again, I would quite happily finish 8th, 10th, and Ten Hag stays if he's going to put his own stamp on this team over December, January. And what I mean by that is, if it's not working, if Evans isn't working, don't play him. Play a young lad. Then we'd accept finishing 8th and 10th, because you can say, do you know what? We've give some youth a chance. Like, I look at what's happening at Chelsea, and yeah, it's quite funny to watch it because they're struggling, but they've got a plan in place, and I'm telling you, within 2 years, you will see that plan start to hit fruition because They're giving these youngsters a go, and they've got their set ways, and they've got a process. We just look all over the place, absolutely all over the place. I can't keep backing him if he's going to keep doing the same things. For me, the double pivot was clear today. I agreed with Stu in the sense of I would have started Fernandez, but I wouldn't have moved away from the double pivot, and I would have started Fernandez over McTominay. But we're at the point where you start one or the other. You can't start both. We've seen that it just empties out the midfield. So why do we keep doing it? It's just strange.
It is very strange, very true. Simon saying, do I feel ETH and Sir Jim have sat down and talked on several occasions regarding United's future? Well, I'm not convinced. It depends, really. We still don't know if Sir Jim's actually legally coming in next week. Next week. Find out. Next week. Always next week. But there we go. Dave saying that he always agrees with Stu. Your analysis is always spot on. So well done, Stu. You got yourself a fan.
Thank you.
Dave can't see Eric getting sacked. Meanwhile, Dav says there's nobody with the authority to sack ETH right now. I think you'll find there's plenty with the authority. It's just whether they've got the knowledge as to whether they should do that or not. John, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. The substitutes we brought on were Ericsson, Rashford, Reguilon and Pellistri. Aside from that, on the bench, we got Medjbury, frog in my throat, Leyendir, Van der Beek, Bennett, Reece Bennett and Sofiane Amrabat. Just that, when you think about the benches we've had in the past, that doesn't really fill you full of, oh, there's a game changer, oh, there's a game changer, oh, there's someone who's going to come on and change the game, does it?
No, we're very limited. I suppose some of it's down to the injuries we've got as well at the moment. But there's you say you've got Van der Beek on the bench who's supposed to be leaving imminently on loan. Ericsson, who's just coming back from a fairly long injury, and you say there's not really anything really in an attacking sense that we can sort of bring on to to really change things. I do think Ten Hag, his in-game decisions changes are not very good at all. He seems to take too long a lot of the time to change anything, make a substitution, but we're certainly limited in what we can who we can bring on in terms of quality to get us a goal back. They're all sort of pretty similar to what's already on the pitch.
Yeah, no, I think you're not a million miles off there. Dave talking about Amrabat, saying that you should start over Bruno today. He deserved to stay in the team. John saying he won't be sacked before Ineos come in, and Simon also suggesting they won't sack him. Simon also asking, is it the tonsil that's sickening? I mean, I've managed almost 3 hours now with the tinsel, so I don't think it was, but it could have been. Could have been. I've done really well, actually, to keep this on for as long as I have, but it is very itchy, is this tinsel. John saying he is on borrowed time. On the current trajectory, he'll be gone by the summer, and it's hard, really. Sort of disagree with that one. Dan, similar sort of thing, really, with regards to the subs. The strength in depth just doesn't really feel like it's there this season, does it?
Yeah, I think obviously the injuries play a part, but for me, it's just an indictment of the terrible recruitment over a prolonged period. That even some of the players that are starting, not even just on the bench, like you look at the team and some of not even the teams of Fergie eras, but the Louis van Gaal teams and players that we've had previously. Like you look at the starting 11 today, and I looked at that starting 11 and I thought West Ham's starting 11's arguably better than ours. And you think that's where we're at now. Like, you see players like Jared Bowen and Kudos and players like that, and you think they would walk in our team, absolutely hands down walk in our team. And you think, and that's only West Ham. So imagine what our team looks like compared to a Man City or a Liverpool. It's just worrying for me. As in, I put a post out before on social media saying like it's the first time in a long time I'm genuinely worried for what the future holds for us, because I just don't see how it gets better. Even if we sack Ten Hag, what's the answer?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. And Dave's saying it's not only demoralising watching them try to play as much as it is talking about the team or the state of the club. And do you know what? I completely agree with you. And there's not a huge amount of time left in our show tonight. We are trying to finish as close to 10 as possible. Not because it's got the word 10 in it and it's obviously Eric Ten Hag, but because Dan has got work on Christmas Eve, which is just horrendous. So we're going to try and get him out. Stu's still getting over a bug. Tony's still hungover. And John and Dan, much like myself, have pulled double duty and have been on the ladies' channel. But we are just going to ask, because obviously you three haven't been on, Dan, Tone and Stu, haven't been on the women's channel, about the sort of things that make Christmas Christmas for you guys. So, Dan, what sort of Christmas films always coming? There's one on at the moment, Die Hard, which I'm hoping is going to be on catch up on Channel 4, because I want to go and sit and watch that next. But what Christmas films are on in the Field FTP household?
There's got to be Home Alone, hasn't it? It's got to be.
One or two, though.
Oh, one.
You got the original. I think two's better.
Yeah, well, I like one. We'll stick with one. I like Elf as well.
You can like two if you want, Barry, but I like one. What are you saying?
Yeah, but I'm so glad you said that Die Hard's a Christmas film. You know, I mean, times I've had that argument. It's definitely a Christmas film.
Tony, look at this. Simon's gone with you with a Home Alone one. It's a great film. I still think too. Tony, what would be the sort of films that are on in your household?
My favorite Christmas film's actually It's a Wonderful Life. I actually love that film, like, massively. I think it's just a beautiful film. It's timeless. Like, I reckon if I ever have grandkids, they'll be watching that film. That's how much. Oh, it's amazing. Like, I can't say enough about it. Like, it's just a really heartwarming story about the value, the meaning of Christmas, the true meaning of like family and stuff like that. Not to sound all sentimental and things like that, but
brilliant shout.
Yeah, it's the best Christmas film. There's loads of good Christmas films. Like Home Alone 2 is like one in my top 5. I love that film because it reminds me of my childhood. It just reminds me of like being a kid, which I think it's meant to. So it serves its purpose.
Simon's pulled out the Polar Express as well. This was mentioned on the women's channel. This is a great one. I've watched this as well this year. Bad Santa.
I've never seen the Polar Express either.
You never seen what? Sorry?
I've never seen the Polar Express.
Dan, where were you as a kid?
I've got the Blu-ray actually to watch tomorrow. So
homework.
Bad Santa's got a great storyline to it as well, in amongst all of the swearing and everything else. That does get there. So yeah, that's a very good one there. Dav's gone with Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Stu, what sort of Christmas films going in the Woolley household?
Well, we like Fred Claus because it's a bit of a comedy type thing. It's a really good one. We also kind of like Christmas with the
Cranks,
whatever it's called. Yeah, Cranks.
Steve Martin.
Yes, that's a good one. And then obviously the Tiddlers, they're like the usual kind of Disney films, that type of thing, But Fred Claus is probably one of my favourites, I must admit. I like Daddy's Home too as well. That's kind of got a Christmas theme to it. So that's what we tend to watch. But we start around December, 1st December, that we try and watch Christmas movies throughout December, which is cool.
Very good. This one from Simon, Violent Night. I don't know what you've been watching, mate. But
that's brand new.
It's brand new. I watched it in the cinema last year. It was class. Really good one.
Yeah.
You two, John and Dan, I know you already answered this question, but just pick one. What's your film of choice?
I forgot one for before when I said Elf and Home Alone 2 earlier, but for me, Deck the Halls as well. Have you seen that one with Danny DeVito in? That's a good one as well.
I feel like I turned into Connor because I have not seen half of these films. I'm gonna have to go back through these lists and write them down.
Oh, very nice. Lion King, the animation version. John Neville, what about you?
As I was saying earlier, I'm like sort of my inner child at Christmas. I like watching the Wallace and Gromit films and Toy Story and things like that. But from the other scales, probably The Great Escape, the one that tend to like watching at Christmas.
Another very good one. So there we go. The other question I've been asking people on the women's channel is, what is it that makes Christmas Christmas on your plate? So when you get your dinner served, you get your Christmas dinner, what has to be on there? Otherwise, there's riots. We're going to kick off with Dan on this one. What do you reckon?
Pigs in blankets.
See, that's my answer. I actually went for a Christmas once where my sister thought she was funny and didn't put any pigs in blankets on the plate, and they've never made that mistake since. Like, really, it was only because I'd seen that pigs in blankets were made. Because she tried to go, "Oh no, Barry, we didn't make any this year," and I'm like, "Listen, it's one thing I asked for. There's no pigs in blankets. I'm off home now. I'm not faffing about watching your kids open presents anymore." And lo and behold, there they were. So yeah, I agree with you, John. What was yours?
Mine was turkey, actually. I was,
Turkey. You went for the dry bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a bit of a madman, really, John, if I'm honest with you. But okay. Dan, what about you?
Mine was Brussels sprouts. Absolutely love Brussels sprouts.
You animal.
I know.
Oh,
I apologise
No.
already. I apologised on the women's channel as well.
They're like sour little cabbages. They're grim.
They're unreal. They're unreal,
Nice
mate.
bacon.
They're unreal.
Pigs in blankets for John living in America. I've made sure they've done that for me. Do they still call them pigs in blankets over there, or do they call them, hogs in duvets, or I don't know? Like that. I've usually got something. Let us know. Tony, what needs to be on your Christmas dinner plate?
Roast potatoes. Like proper crispy roast potatoes, like the ones where the gravy just soaks up and you could. Oh yeah, you can't be
salivating already now. Wishes it was Christmas.
Oh
Eve.
mate, you're making me think about Christmas dinner already, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna be back to 18 stone again.
Nice. And Stu?
Oh, it's easy. Yeah, mushy peas.
Mushy peas. John, fish and chip dinner, do you?
Absolutely the greatest. Love mushy peas.
I've never had
Yes,
that.
so we have turkey, beef, roast potatoes, because I love roast potatoes, mushy peas, and no sprouts.
No sprouts.
You disappoint me, Stu.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
They don't have them. They don't have pig wrapped in pig over there. They've had to tell them what they are. Well, fair play. Well done for. Maybe you're going to be the person that gives America a little bit of culture over there with those. So there we go. I think I've asked all the major questions that I wanted to ask on that one. I'm going to ask you one last question before we do our quiz, and that's your highlight of the season so far. So we can have a little think about what that might be. We're going to do the quiz, and then that gives you the chance to think about your highlight as well. So here's your first one. Who would be a frivoled tonic?
Victor Lindelof.
Yes, Stu. Tony.
Tony.
That was Tony. It wasn't me. I'll claim it, but
You haven't, Stu.
Who said that? Was it Dan?
like a true striker.
That was Tony.
I was Tone. You all sound the same. I'll give it to Tone. No problems. Who would be Mirage?
Harry
Maguire.
Oh, look at straight in.
Yes.
That time it was definitely Dan F. Good. Okay. Now I like this one because it makes him sound like an American. Who would be Alumnus Dosh Jr.?
Marcus Rashford? No, Rasmus Højlund.
Rasmus Højlund, that'll be, won't it?
Yeah.
Who said that?
Dan.
Well,
Dan and Stu.
No, I'm claiming that as well.
Yeah.
You won before you started.
No, Baz, what happened? Dan got the initial header and it came off my knee and then went in the net.
See.
So I'm peeled away by then, and so I'm having
it. Makes sense. 100%. Who would run a Litany marathon?
Anthony Martial.
Oh, go on, Dan.
Wow.
Think about what these things.
The Stephen Hawking anagrams here.
Last one. Who ate gherkin? Oh, this is the one that's made him think.
Eric Ten Hag.
Yes,
Oh,
Eric.
nice.
very nice.
Well done.
Yeah.
Good job. Listen, let's go with the highlights. Stu, what was your highlight of the season so far?
Nothing. It's been a disastrous, woeful season, and like I said before, if any of these players can really look at themselves in the mirror and think they've done all right, then we're not interested in them at all. It's been terrible. I would have done a better job at centre half.
Wow. So that's pretty much says it all there from Stu. Tone, have you got anything that you could say would be a highlight of 2023 or of the season so far?
This season, not only this season. We're not talking about.
We might as well go this season. It might end up being a shorter run. We'll see.
Well, we're going this season. Probably Garnacho's goal against Everton because that was a worldie. But really, there's little for me to talk about. I'm a bit lost for words of how bad we've been this season. Like it's almost demoralising now. Yeah, I am right.
Interesting. I feel like I'm pretty sure he's got a K at the end of his name.
I'm going on his Wikipedia because this is winding me up every time.
I'm sure it's got a K.
It's a K, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nice try, Dave. You're not catching me out on that one.
Eric Ten Hag. It says on Wikipedia, so it must be true.
Dan, anything for you? Have you got a moment that you would say has been the highlight of your season so far?
Probably Manu coming through and a bit of a resurgence from Harry Maguire. If I was clutching at straws, but generally the highlight was probably today. The game was over and I can celebrate Christmas without them ruining any more weekends for a couple of days.
Yeah, that's a highlight for sure. Dave saying Anthony Marshall could never run a marathon. Like he was literally a marathon. It was very good. That did make me cool. Well done. John, highlight for you. I mean, you've had the opportunity to go and watch some of these games live, so hopefully there would be something there.
Yeah, I think besides Garnacho's goal, it'd probably be the Brentford game, the late comeback against Brentford. Really, it was one of the
It says a lot about our season.
Highlights.
That to beat Brentford.
Yeah.
What a world we live in. But yeah, Dan, how about you?
It's not been very good, but I'd go for just Maguire's resurgence from my own personal point of view. It's nice to back him constantly and him show that he's capable of what he's capable of, but it's just been pretty poor all round, to be fair. There's not many highlights. I think we've got the best ones with the goal, a couple of late comebacks, but hopefully next year it's a lot. There's a lot more positives from Man United.
Well, I mean, I tend to agree. I think Garnacho's goal was amazing. For me, the highlight actually was the Bayern Munich game when we lost 3-2. And I'll tell you why. And it's going to be... Is it 4-3? I knew we lost by a goal. I'm very tired now. I'm 2 drinks in. So I'm ready for a little kip on the sofa whilst watching Die Hard. The reason why I liked that game was because we fought back. There was a real European feel to it. And I think that of all of the 6 games that we played, that one in particular really stood out for me as a proper European night for Manchester United against a big European side. The rest of the games, we just didn't really feel like we were in Europe. We just felt like we were being smashed over by the likes of Galatasaray and Copenhagen. But for that game, at that moment, there were points there where we genuinely felt like we were the Manchester United of old. And so I think for me, that would probably be my highlight of the season so far. Well, listen, it's been an absolute delight having every single one of you all on here today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us at home. Thank you for joining in with the little quizzes that we've done. It was a bit difficult. We would have just have like a whole sort of Christmassy type thing going on, but then of course West Ham happened, and we had to talk a little bit about that. I had a feeling they were going to try and put a dampener on it, but there we go. Like I say, Merry Christmas to all of you, to our very own Ebenezer Scrooge there in Stu Woody, for our very own Bob Cratchit over there in terms of Dan. Although, to be fair, Dan up the top could easily be Bob Cratchit at the moment because he's looking like he's really not very well at the minute either. But God bless us, each and every single one. So thank you, Tone. Lovely to have had you back on again. Cheers, John. Cheers, Dan. Thanks as well to Connor as well and Andrew Wall for joining us at the beginning. We're probably going to have another one before the end of the year. We will let you know. Keep an eye on our socials. But other than that, it's my job just to say I hope you have a very merry, very peaceful Christmas. You don't worry too much about Man United. Just enjoy the time that you spend with the people that you love, and we'll see you on the other side. Merry Christmas.